Alright, enough of that. Hey there guys, I want to give you my thoughts on this new X-Men movie, Xmen Apocalypse. Share with you guys some of my thoughts, my feelings, and my overall synopsis of this. Now I clearly wanted to tell you guys where I was coming from when it came to these X-Men movies. X-Men First Class is actually the reason I got into things like cosplay. It was such a great movie, and Magneto's helmet in particular was like, damn, I want that helmet. And now, I got the helmet. I actually am very proud of this helmet. I still need the suit to go with it, but I am very happy with this thing. Then I saw X-Men Days of Future Past. I'm like, this is perfect. This is a great time travel story. This is a great X-Men story. It's a great story of everything I like about X-Men and why I like it. And then I got that costume too. I even got the helmet. It's kind of cool. This one is very, very red. My thoughts on Xmen Apocalypse. Well, first off, what you guys should know is people have been ragging on this. They've been hating on it for a while. In fact, my friends spoiled some good parts of the movie for me before I watched it, because I just watched it today. They had been watching it Thursday, Friday. They spoiled some stuff for me. I came in a little jaded, expecting worst case scenario. I actually came out saying that's actually relatively thought-provoking. I like what they were trying to ask as questions, what they were trying to have the points as, and I liked what these new faces have done and what some of these existing characters have gone through. So, into recap, this is a story where Apocalypse, an ancient mutant from Egypt, is revived in modern times, sees the world, and decides to take over. He has 4 horsemen of the apocalypse that he recruits, and they use their combined might to take over the world. That's only up to the X-Men to be able to stop it and stop world destruction. That's a brief thing. I'm not going to go into major spoilers like my friends, but I did want to let you know that it's very, very apocalyptic. Like, we're talking Independence Day apocalyptic, where you're like, yeah, there's no coming back from that. That's pure extinction level stuff. But it's actually about people being afraid of who they are. They're afraid to be able to unleash everything. It's basically Beast's story from X-Men First Class. His kind of story arc of unleashing the Beast, kind of coming to acceptance with himself. It's fulfilled on a movie-wide basis. People are afraid of their powers, people are afraid of their potential, people are afraid of their nature. It's all about accepting it and being who you are and finding out what it is. Now, Apocalypse is interesting because he thinks his world is perfect and that the strongest should survive. It's a very old school Darwin thought process of the strong cell. It's an old school Darwin process of the strong cell survive. The strong are in charge. Now, he having godlike powers, crazy, ridiculous powers that go on and on and on. Sand bending, teleportation, energy bending, mutant power enhancing, being able to change consciousness with other people and absorb their powers. He believes that the strong will survive, and he being the strongest is clearly the god. Now, on the other hand, we have a bunch of mutants who are afraid of their powers. They're afraid of their potential. They're afraid of all this untapped thing that would give them godlike status. Very close to Apocalypse in a lot of things, like Magneto Unleashed, of what Apocalypse allows him to be able to do, is scary powerful. Let's jump into the characters. First of all, Xavier. He is in charge of the school. He gets to go first. He actually goes through some pretty interesting things. He has some very adorable moments where he is flabbergasted and he's trying to flirt, and it's actually quite adorable, and I thought that was great. He has some really strong morals. He is continuously trying to be true, and he is rewarded for all of those previous X-Men movies. Because of the events of the last movie, Mystique's position on being mutant and proud has actually been a little bit reversed, and it's actually kind of made her backtrack slightly in regards to her positions on mutants and the world. Not in like a really negative way, it's just a very logical way considering what happened to her. Moving on from there, we have Magneto. Now, Magneto gets hit with the emotion stick like no one's business. He has the most trauma happen to him. He has the most things happen. This guy is a great actor. I felt everything he was going through. I understood where he was coming from. And truth be told, dude, if I was a mutant, I would be behind you 100%. There's like no question. I would be on your side. But yeah, Magneto went through a lot of stuff. Moving on to that, his son, Quicksilver, they kind of addressed that weird elephant in the room from the last movie. Totally address it. He's in this again. He's trying to have a little more relevance and trying to reconnect with his father that he didn't realize he had. So Quicksilver is great. He actually has a fantastic running scene, very similar to the Days of Future Past scene, a little more amplified, but it's obnoxiously strong. And like, he is stopped. He is without a doubt stopped by Apocalypse and just trounced, like just full on schooled. So that was really cool. Going on from there, we have Jean Grey. Jean Grey was actually kind of one of my favorite things, because unlike Apocalypse, who has this magnificent godlike power and believes himself to be a god because of it, she is the opposite. She has this fire within her that she can't control and she doesn't know how to handle. Yet she is terrified of it, absolutely terrified of it. And it was very interesting to see how she approached it versus how other people approached it, and how how she handled her powers. That being said, her love interest, Scott Summers, Cyclops, because of their similar power sets, Jean Grey and Cyclops actually have a very natural way of creating romance and creating an affinity for each other without it being weird and awkward. It's all very natural, and it makes sense why they would want to be around each other. Going on from that, we have Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler, it was pretty awesome. I actually met this cool, quirky, odd guy from Germany who said some really fun stuff every so often. They run with that. And the fact that we have a full-on blue Nightcrawler showing up in the 80s in a Michael Jackson jacket, perfect. That was just, he would totally wear a Michael Jackson jacket and just be totally a goofball about it. But I actually thought that he was really fun. His power set was really well represented. It reminded me of like popping popcorn, where you go pop, 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 pop. The rest of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Starting off, we got Storm. Storm is pretty cool. She's got the accent. She has her actual comic book base in there, where she started off as a thief. They have that starting off in here, because her point in there was she was the first mutant that Apocalypse meets. Going on from there, we have Angel. Angel's actually my brother's favorite X-Men. He actually cried at the beginning of X-Men Last Stand. He thought it was too traumatizing to see a kid ripping off his wings. Completely different character, though, than that kid from that. He's more of a brute, he's more of a fighter. I know a lot of Archangel fans and Angel fans in general are probably not going to like him because he's such a different character type, but he fits for what he needed to be in the story, which is he needed to be a warrior. And he has this cool back and forth fighting with Nightcrawler. Those two are the ones that seem to always get paired up. Going on from there, we have Psylocke. Now, I actually have to admit, I don't know too much about Psylocke. I grew up watching the 90s cartoon. I don't really remember her from that, but I do remember that she has like energy weapons and she's a really good fighter. But that's about the extent of what I know of her. That being said, I thought it was kind of fun how they played her, and I liked her physicality, I liked her precision. She was very precise. She had a freaking sword, for crying out loud, and she just was super, super swift with it, and she did some crazy stuff where you're like, I don't know how she's going to make it out of that, and she makes it, and you're like, that's really good. Good for her. Good job, girl. I want to see you do more stuff like that. So that was cool. I really like how it started with Magneto trying out Xavier's method. He was trying to fit in, and ultimately humans suck, and he paid for it. But it was really interesting that he was honestly trying after what had happened in Days of Future Past. Now, people are going to ask, in my opinion, is this movie better than First Class, the thing that got me into cosplay? Not so much. Is Xmen Apocalypse as good as Days of Future Past? It's about equal for me, actually, where Days of Future Past had some really cool time concepts in it. On the same time, Xmen Apocalypse rose some really interesting questions for me on the nature of power, the nature of talent, the nature of unleashing said talent upon the world, and that fear that you could hurt someone because of it. I can truly say that was a really interesting concept, and they're continuously asking good questions in these movies, and because of that, I can't really fault it. And as movies go for this year, it's actually my third favorite. Captain America, Deadpool, Xmen Apocalypse, Batman v Superman is a little further down the list, by the way, for anyone asks, and a couple other movies swing in there. Totally worth it for me to go watch it. I understand if someone's going to hate on this one because these characters are not exact comic book counterparts. They do try to get there. They're trying, but they also only have certain character arcs they can do. So I was very happy with that. Their effects were glorious. Like, there are 4 or 5 shots that are without a doubt going to be my screensavers on the computer. Like, they are beautiful. Ultimately, I say if you're an X-Men fan, you like the last 2 movies, watch this one. It continues that storyline. It is great. I liked it. If you're not an X-Men fan or you didn't like those previous movies, it's not for you. I get that, but it's still a good time. Outside of that, my name is Golden, and this has been Midas Touch.